Good morning, boys and girls, and welcome to the first of our daily lessons for boys and girls, which indeed will be happening Monday to Friday over the next weeks. I hope this week that I'll be doing them every morning, and then in the weeks ahead, some others will be helping out who you'll know as well. And I thought this week I will start by with the story of Daniel. It's a tremendous story. It teaches us some very important truths about God. Well, it all started about 600 years before Jesus was born. The great king Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon came and invaded Jerusalem. And not only did he destroy Jerusalem, he carried many of the people into captivity. And among those who were carried into captivity were four young men called Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. And the plan was the Babylonians wanted to take these men and to change them to become really good servants for the king of Babylon. And so when they came to Babylon, the first thing that happened to them, they were all given new names. Daniel was given the name Belteshazzar. Hananiah was given the name Shadrach. Mishael was given the name Meshach. And Azariah was given the name Abednego. And the purpose of that was the names that those people first had were wonderful names which spoke tremendous truths about God, the true God, the God of Israel. And the new names that they got, Belteshazzar, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, were names from the false gods that the Babylonians worshipped. And what the Babylonians were doing was to try to get them to forget about the true God of Israel. They wanted them to worship and to follow the false gods of their country. And they began to teach them loads and loads of things to try and change their minds and their thinking. Now, coming to this new land, one of the things that happened was that they were expected to eat the food that the people of this land ate as well. But these four men, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, they knew that this food wasn't right because in God's law there were certain foods they weren't supposed to eat. And also, the food that they were eating was food that had been sacrificed to idols. And they didn't want to be involved in this at all. And yet, this was seen as the very best food in the land, the tastiest, nicest food in the land, and they were expected to eat it. But they didn't want to because they knew it would be disobeying God. And so Daniel went and spoke to the chief steward. And he said to the steward, would it be all right that indeed that he and his three friends, that they would not eat the food of the Babylonians, but just to eat fruit and vegetables? And the steward says, if you do not look well as the other people, I will be in big trouble for this. And so Daniel says to him, test us for 10 days. Let us eat nothing but the fruit and the vegetables, and let the others eat the other food, and see how we are after 10 days. So that's what happened. And after 10 days, the chief steward was absolutely amazed. Daniel and his friends looked far better than the other people. God had honoured them because they were faithful to God in what they were doing. And boys and girls, as you grow up, if you're faithful to God, God will honour you. And in the world around us, there are boys and girls as they grow up and as they get older, they'll do many things which are against God's word and against God's commandments. But don't follow them. Be brave like Daniel and his friends. You stand for God. You stand for Jesus and be willing to be different. This isn't easy, but God will honour you for that. And so as time went on, Daniel and his friends grew and grew in wisdom. And the time came that they were to be presented to King Nebuchadnezzar. And when they met King Nebuchadnezzar, he was amazed. He never met four young men who were as wise as Daniel and his friends. Why were they wise? Because God had given them a wisdom. God had helped them in their learning. They had been faithful to God. Now God was being faithful to them. And boys and girls, we need to believe that if we're faithful to God, if we stand out as being different, if we follow God's commandments, if we trust this great God, He will use us and He will indeed bless us in wonderful ways. Following Jesus, following God, being different from people around you who have no time for God and Jesus. It's not easy to be different for Jesus today. But if you are different, if you live according to His word, you will find wonderful blessing coming into your life. So thank you for listening. Tune in tomorrow for the next part of the story.